Welcome to the Poetry Box Live. So let's get started with our first reader. Sally Naylor, author of Synapse Flies into Startle. Sally Naylor is a bit of a three-legged stool. She's a poet, a therapist, and a teacher. Sally studied with Campbell McGrath in the FIU MFA program. She thrived in classes with Maxine Kumin, Gerald Stern, Ilya Kaminsky, and Tony Hoagland. Lucky you. Sally is the associate editor of SOFLOPOJO, which I think is the Southern Florida Poetry Journal. She teaches community workshops for the Palm Beach Poetry Festival, writes memoir as well as text and workbooks for neophytes, and offers Zoomshops for emerging poets. Please welcome Sally Naylor.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here this evening. Before I start reading, I would like to acknowledge Ilya Kaminsky, one of my teachers. I was in his workshop about 2 years ago and a little scared. I had written an orgasm poem and I was tentative. So I presented it to the class and he actually liked it. As a matter of fact, he said, you ought to put together a collection and write an orgasm book. So I considered that and I thought, that's very exciting. I appreciated his encouragement, but I needed the right attitude in order to do it. And I found it with E.E. Cummings' epigraph in my book. Cummings writes, a comic tadpole wriggling in delicious mud. So that's essentially the attitude I took into writing this book, and it seemed to work well. I made a lot of mud pies. All right, so I'm going to start. My first poem is the poem that I presented to Ilya at that workshop. After the last orgasm. After the last orgasm oscillates, it becomes the undulating spiral down of a leaf or giggle, word fluff, half alms, and slow motion, sloppy scampers, light breeze, soft bangles, throbs pulsed round some bemused cleric's imaginary harpsichord, or string quartet sounds, green whistles, high riddles, as the last turn all dogma sideways song crescendos into a final upside down broadcast from the control tower, iterating, then reiterating what it already knows. Ceiling and visibility unlimited. Transformed into playgrounds, people with John Cleese silly walks, a puppy's zigzag wobble, or crown of sonnets, as you loll about, Ms. O, wondering if the future hinges more on your own deft fingers or his midnight tongue. Okay. And this next, titled To Couple. I always wanted to live in music, maybe Pachelbel, Corelli, or one of the Brandenburgs, loving the covenant, the dazzle, the pure, bold Mozart son of it, become all April, scudding clouds, rain, showers, haiku, narcissus, and violin prayers. Melody, counterpoint, crescendo, like the body of a bird stepping into God, that kind of reach or surge. Join me. Thank you, thank you. This next is titled Urge. Drunk on ink joy, I'm sculpting consonants into rapture, considering my obsessions. Is orgasm as close to God as I've ever come? Or is it more metaphor, disease? Why do the lowly and the holy so often intrigue? Why zigzag my smart-ass libido in loop-de-loops across white landscape, probing essence of orgasm? Is it fear of death or some kind of intimate atrocity? Is it the oh of self, selflessly offering up an Elysian paradox, a poet's prayer? Or is it a mere land grab? Is it time for adverbs to parse and fuck grammatically? To witness and to merge, to share skin, worship invention, now, light as the serious clowns of our collaborative, wet, pulsing concoctions, I seek the gate into the garden, seek to become mere seed, take root, leaf up, and become misting, earthbound, flesh sense, to bud, to sprout, to knead, to stroke, to mouth, oh, to feather, tingle, then harden and fly all synapse into startle. No time clocks in, only the coupling, the need to morph into an other, an ether, as voices fizzle into infinite threads of unchurched tensions, space of trinity, of twins, our you, our me, all the God self-darlings made flesh, fallen yet holy, the adagio to presto of Arcangelo Corelli. Seaman, amen, amen. Thank you. Okay. This next, The Sex of Language, there's an epigraph, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who says, the earth laughs in flowers. The Sex of Language. Copulation, as clinical as an antiseptic mouth swab, wears sensible shoes and a white lab coat of polyester. It declaims its palaver in expository, polysyllabic, peer-reviewed, well-documented Latinate prose. But consider the yellow powder, stem, pistil, stamen, roots, and seduction of the ruffled leaf, a fluted vessel, of quiver and entwine, of the seminal flowering, unfurling blossoms of the lady slipper, or blue Danube orchid, of lush rainforest rife with moisture. Consider the contagions and persuasions of formal literary propagations. Compare that to the more idiomatic screw, fuck, the happy gyrations of my opening remarks and sallies, riding the salty thrusts of your body through to epilogue. Thank you. And this next is called Pitching Woo. Love is not the body, but it is of the body. Let this remain the sun in preamble, the last murmur before release, for ours is the dance greened with buds, part cilantro, part surf. Breathe. In Chagall's birthday, we levitate as you hover slightly above, bouquet in hand, neck craned backwards, somewhere beyond the mirth of your oh so radiant face. Sing a chorus of fern tendrils laced with fervor and nutmeg. Pan-piping flutes laud your wily goat's grace as seagulls spiral the landscape, while slow motion pirouettes float us higher, higher. For it is summer in paradise, and we are eons away from our old lives or gravity. And shifting tones slightly. For the seekers, what I want to know is how to kiss those social scientists goodbye so specific, measurable, concrete, hugging stats, graphs, case histories, smelling a lot like goals in lab coats. How to say yes to the great lie, the hope that after engorgement or any other promising venue, after all the undulations, the symphony, improv, sonnet, or drama of orgasm, how to still believe the myth that you will be released from self, if only for moments, from the longing to be one, to be separate from all that longing, for where in the wanting of release is release, which you will learn and learn again. And as always, you won't get there or anywhere. Pilgrim, tell me how to sabotage, integrate, or embrace the great lies. Is there a hint in the communion of joining and getting nowhere together? Or is that just one more mirage? What I really want to know is, okay, the next poem. This is called A Fabulous Tower, long Rapunzel hair. And yes, this tiny ballerina is no accounts receivable, head bowed, hand over heart, hands clasped in prayer. We know her to be a devout, but only in the electric riff or private temple of her dreams as she chants, Red Rover, Red Rover. After the tomboy years, Miss O harpsichords a fevered Brandenburg, clamors to reach out, fiddle, learn languages without ears, retrieve her first cradle, breathe like two golden fish, float, cut bait. How she pirouettes beyond her Fabergé egg, nest and prison, wanting to belong, to claim an address or body, resign from all bogus love me marathons, to savor freedom, oh concerto, rhapsody, plie, leap, sway. Webster's concise offers no glimmer or knowing in this cognition, lacks negative capability. Twirl, girl, as your fairy tale cursive undulates with rain, doubt, the lotus, high notes, and hunger, fresh from what happens, oh, to haiku in a tutu, rain, or the soul. Thank you. And my last poem, I decided to switch the venue since many people here are either in New York or Oregon. I'm taking you to Lubbock, Texas, and the Florida Everglades. And this is dedicated to Campbell McGrath, another one of my teachers. Blue Grace. As dust devils spin outside Lubbock, which the mind says isn't much, this alien flat land peppered with oil rigs, twangs, and rodeo clowns. Even here, you stumble into a state of blue grace. Maybe the dry air smells of ginger, or gravity falls up, or maybe poppy fields bloom above the drugs. You are solitary, yet not alone. No more hogwash somewhere beyond almanacs and the cardboard houses of the poor. Elsewhere, the anhinga shrieks, look at me, as she wings it over the Everglades, sawgrass, ever more evergreen, ever afterly, in a world where you seldom find a word ever green or blue enough. As the night heron lifts its little claw and a gecko scrambles up the palm, and fear somehow forgets to click its language of knives. Take me along, even though I am foreign as a limpkin pecking its way through swamps. You hope today begins the golden journey, mate or sunrise. Maybe you will really listen or inherit a voice with fabulous wingspan, hungry for horizon. Maybe today you barometer language. Let anguish languish, for poetry is a second tongue, and the prayers you do not hear only mean you are not equal to your longings. For there is a beauty we must all die to reach, every syllable a revolution, a plot against reason. Now put this note in a bottle and set it afloat. Someone will love you for it. Thank you. And thanks to my students who attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. That was a real treat. And not only do I just adore your quirky, inventive language that seems to be quite the trademark of your poetry, I really admire your courage to be vulnerable and honest on a topic that a lot of writers and poets shy away from. And I appreciate your candor and your really fun poetry on this topic. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for supporting me and assisting me through what I think you may have said something about liberal prudes. Thank you.
You know, on a side note, we've have a little back porch bunny that's been visiting us every day of the pandemic. And about a week ago, he disappeared, and I've been really worried about him. And as you were reading your poems, and we all know what bunnies like to do, he came back. So I love that.